Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. Go check out Game7Baseball.com. They're already putting up their schedule for next year, 2024. It's happening right now as we speak. So if you're looking to see what's going on, what's new with Game 7 Baseball, make sure you head over to Game7Baseball.com. We've got some cool stuff coming up with the fellas. We're going to take our winter workout tour on the road. We're going to be heading over to Nashville. We're going to be heading over to Kansas City. We're heading down to Lake of the Ozarks. So we're going to check out some of these spots. We're going to look to talk to some of the programs in those areas. We're going to check out a couple of programs in Nashville, get a look at what they're doing in their winter workouts. Getting ready for the 2024 season. I'm looking forward to going up and seeing Nick Crouch at Mac Insights, and hopefully we're going to get in to Inside Edge as well when we're in Kansas City and down at the LOZ training facility there in Lake of the Ozarks. We got a big one. It's going to be a lot of fun. But today, let's get to it. On the show, head coach, Smet Baseball, Tim Canavan. Coach, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. I've enjoyed talking baseball with you. We've had the opportunity. Good season last year.
It was a fun season. It was a fun season. We hit 2 of our 3 goals, the most important one being the district championship. We also won 20 games. We didn't quite get the conference record that we wanted, but we'll keep plugging away. But I was very happy for those guys that they won the district championship in the manner that they did.
That's awesome. I didn't, you set expectations, right? And you hope you meet them. And I think it's interesting when people talk about, 20 games, you're like, 20 games, that doesn't seem like very much. Listen, winning 20 games in high school baseball, you get over 20 wins, you're only playing what? The max you can play is 36.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you're going to lose some to rain, right? Right.
Exactly. So that's big. I think when you factor in all those things, when you're looking at, if you get a 30-win season in high school baseball, whoa, that's big.
Yeah. You have to have some pitching depth and health, and be very, very good. Be very, very good. I set my aspirations at plus 500 in conference, 20 wins, and district championship. If we get those 3, I'm a very happy man.
There you go. This is now, you're going into your 3rd year at Smet, correct?
Yes, sir.
You were at MICDS. You won a state title at MICDS. You were at Lindenwood. I don't think I've talked to you since, maybe we did. Man, that's what I'm saying. I think we had you and Coach
Goff. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was that your first year at Smet?
I believe it was heading into the 2022 season, which would have been my first year.
That's correct. Yeah. Golly.
Yeah.
So there you go. We missed a year. How do you do that? But
well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say we 2022 wasn't my best performance. So maybe I'm glad that you missed me after that.
I love that. Talk to us a little bit. It's interesting to me. You left MICDS, went to Lindenwood. Mm-hmm. I think they were still Division II at the time, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And you made the jump back into high school baseball. What was, I think there's a lot of guys that maybe go, why would you leave coaching college ball, go back to high school? What was your thoughts in that decision?
Sure. I really enjoy coaching high school baseball. The reason I went back to Lindenwood is I just felt like I had a little unfinished business. When I was there the first time, I kind of got asked to take a new position as an assistant athletic director. So I did that for 2 years, but it wasn't my favorite thing to do. So I left and got back into coaching. Um, Worked for the St. Louis Pirates, coached at MICDS, and then an opportunity arose to go back to Lindenwood. And for me, I just needed to do it to get a little bit better closure for that part of my career. And it was a great year. We had a magical run. We won the conference tournament in come from behind fashion. We were number one in the nation for a little bit of time. It was terrific. Yeah. So, but high school is where I love to be. You get to be in the classroom. You get to know the guys in the classroom, see them in the hallways, and I think as a high school coach, you can make a really big impact on the development of their game. Not that you can at the college level, but I feel like at the college level, you're often refining what is already a pretty good player. But if I think about how much a freshman improves to a senior from ninth grade to 12th grade, and I feel like with just some, just focusing on the basics, if you teach a young man how to play catch properly, how to catch and throw well, how to run the bases, how to have an approach at the plate, you're going to make a huge, huge impact on his game and his development. And so that's what I enjoy doing. I think baseball can be kept very simple, and you can have a profound impact on somebody's game.
As you were talking about that, we've had these inquiries or questions. I've looked at this stuff. A freshman high school baseball coach, that's got to be one of the toughest jobs because you're seeing 15 new guys every year. Mm-hmm. You're there to help develop them into the program. Mm-hmm. You got to have a good dude there at that freshman level, don't you?
You really do. You have to have somebody who is probably first and foremost selfless, all about the program, all about the kids, because they're going to have their games scheduled last. They're going to get the smallest practice space. They're going to get bumped. They're going to get the oldest uniforms. They're going to get the fewest games. But when I think about my current freshman coaches and even my freshman coach when I was in ninth grade, really solid baseball men, knew what they were doing. In fact, I still teach cuts and relays, still use the same terminology that Coach Beckman taught me in ninth grade at Pattonville High School. So thank you, Coach Beckman. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Those guys are special.
I love that because that's an impact. And I think, as you're talking about high school baseball and why you coach high school baseball, to me, those are the things right there. Because we all at some point had aspirations to play. You're dreaming, I'm going to play in the major leagues. I'm going to play for the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm going to walk out on Busch Stadium. And there's a reality that comes, and we go, well, not going to quite get there. Okay. But how then do I take and translate these things and this game and create opportunities to share this information? And I think that's the great part of high school baseball.
So this area back here is basically production. They do a lot of the artwork back here. They do the production. So any of that stuff that comes in off of, let's say, our fanware stores, stuff that comes in off the team stores, a lot of the coaches wear, a lot of the last minute, hey, we got to have it in the next 10 minutes stuff, that's all comes back here. This area is where all the day-to-day stuff that comes in really goes through. The retail store is its own little entity. This is where the real work is done.
And even more than that, I think there are so many good people coaching high school baseball that don't get enough credit, that they're not just looking to win games or they're not doing it for their own ego. They're trying to create better men. And that's when you have a special coach. I've been around so many guys that I try to emulate for that reason. They're not just trying to win games. They're trying to create better people. men that can, they're going to be good husbands and good fathers and contribute to society. And obviously that's the most important thing.
We see it all the time. You see these young men coming back from college, or they've had a stint in the minors, and you got to get a job, get back into what you're doing, and it's interesting watching those dynamics and how those things bleed into the community. How do you keep a community together? What are those things about? And I think sport, I think baseball especially, because that's what we talk about, creates those opportunities. I think when we see the clubs and then the teams. The one thing I talked to you about doing this coaching clinic that we're coming up in December. It's one of the
Can't
things
wait.
that is so interesting to me. And Coach Horn's going to jump in with us, and Coach Perkins. And I appreciate you guys, because to me, the value of what you have, and then we have so many. I think the dad is the one that's most invested. You got kids, and you're invested in your children. And, how do we take and create a better atmosphere for these dads who are coaching their kids and other people's kids to where, it creates a better, as you said, those things that maybe they'll continue to pass along to their kid, and then that's the way that rolls. And I think it's so important to create those opportunities. Agreed?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's funny. One of my assistant coaches, he just joined us last year, is actually my coach from when I was a kid, and he had a profound impact on myself and all of my friends growing up. He's the reason we love baseball. He's the reason I wanted to be a coach. So for me to get to coach alongside of him now is just a thrill. But when I think of the importance of those youth coaches, that's why I'm excited to help you out in that capacity, because I know how important those guys are in the lives of their players, and what an impact they can have.
Absolutely. And I think there's just so much involved in that. So I got to put on my glasses so I can read over here. This hair, man. I told you, the gray hair's not fooling anybody, Coach. Let me ask you this. I think this is a curious one because, we have so many of them in the area. Is it different coaching at a private school than a public school?
I don't have a whole lot of experience coaching at a public school. I guess actually I never have. I've taught at a public school for a couple years, but I was still coaching at St. Louis Community College when I was there. Other than the fact that, what we try to do and who we try to be is always centered around our faith. I got to think kids are kids and baseball is baseball, and it's pretty similar. It's pretty similar. I think one or two of the ways that Smet might be a little bit different is just I was really impressed, surprised, at how much of a brotherhood exists between our students and how much they support one another. I don't know if it could be that way at other schools. I'm not sure, but football, soccer, lacrosse, hockey, basketball, baseball, the kids just come out and support one another. When we played in the state quarterfinals last spring, there were almost 1,000 people there. Now, half of those were Francis Howell, half of those probably DeSmet, but we had people hanging over the fence just trying to watch the game. So I think that speaks to how much baseball is loved and how much brotherhood there is at DeSmet, at least.
I think that's cool. I love that. And I love the crowds that we're getting,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think there's some great crowds. And we got to do this. I know we tried last year. We didn't quite get it done. But this year, I got to get you guys on the schedule, Coach. Live stream a game.
Sure.
Got to do that. Maybe when you play CBC, that'll be a fun one, right?
As long as we play well. As long as we play well.
Oh, mercy. And when you talk about camaraderie, I think that's interesting. My son went to Zumwalt East and Coach Hill, and I love what
Hmm.
he's been doing. He does it every fall. They just had their alumni game,
Hmm.
and they had like 30 dudes signed up for that. People coming. Well, of course, it got rained out, but still, guys, there was 15 guys that still showed up, and they all went over to one of the restaurants close to the campus, and just sat around, hung out, and had some food and some drink, and enjoyed some company. Guys that they hadn't seen in a long. I thought, that shows you, yeah, it is a brotherhood, even at that level. You know, I think those things are cool, and I think that's what sport does, because you sweat so much with these guys. I won't say blood, because, well, sometimes maybe in football,
Yeah.
but in baseball you put a lot of sweat in that, and you're there for each other, and I think developing those relationships is key to how a young man sees their success as they move into, as we, better lack of a better way, the real world, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, going through ups and downs and trials and tribulations, it's the adversity that forms them into better ball players, and then ultimately better teammates and better men. And having your friends by your side to go through that with you, um, makes it a much easier makes the challenges much easier, and makes the good times that much better.
And I think it's interesting too, because, like you said, faith plays a. My faith is who I am and what I am, and I don't hide those things. And I think if you're really working together, people find ways, even if they don't necessarily agree with what you think, they find ways to coexist in that respect, to play a game. And I think it creates a bond that really is different than anything else you see in life. Personally, just my thoughts.
Absolutely. One of the neatest things I've ever experienced on a baseball field is we were playing a school of a different denomination. But after the game, they said, "Hey, coach, we'd like to come pray with us." Absolutely. Said a quick prayer. And like you said, it just helped create a bigger, a deeper bond between opponents, but now, guys that we consider friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where I think sportsmanship, what is sportsmanship? What is that? It's an idea that you're playing a sport, but you compete as hard as you can. You compete to, I'm that guy. When you talk about getting on the field or on a court or whatnot, uh, I don't believe in losing. I just don't. I will go that hard to play at that level. But at the end of the day, I don't hate the person across from me. I don't want to hurt them or nothing. And then you shake hands at the end, and you understand that we're here competing, and that competition doesn't change the fact that that's a human being across from you,
Right.
and you deal with them with respect. That doesn't mean you can't play hard, but you understand what it is to respect somebody.
Right. Right. I think I've been coaching against Coach Horn for almost 20 years, but I consider him a friend. We talk, semi regularly, certainly during the season more, and touch base periodically. And we go after each other pretty hard when we play, but he's a friend of mine, and if maybe if we weren't in the same conference, I'm sure he's somebody I'd go to for advice, right?
Right.
um, I'm also reminded of, you probably remember this, maybe some of the younger viewers won't, the 91 World Series, when Brian Harper and Lonnie Smith had that tremendous collision at home plate. And how did the very next game start? Brian Harper walked up to home, or excuse me, Lonnie Smith walked up to home plate, and he shook Brian Harper's hand,
Yep.
and said, "Let's play ball." And I just thought, to me, that was everything sports is all about. They played so hard that they literally threw their bodies at one another, but then they turn around and they shake one another's hands.
Yeah, I'm not trying to hurt you. It's the heat of competition sometimes, and you're in it. and you're doing everything you can to score. This is the World Series.
Right.
And, I think that's sometimes, it's fierce. I like what's going on. I'm rooting for the Rangers, so.
They look tough. They look tough.
I tell you, I'd like to see the Rangers do that. Of course, I'm a Corey Seager fan too, so there you go.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about your program. And you're coming into your third year, you've got talent. That's a given. You've had some really good pitching. Talk to us about what's coming up in 2024 here. You got some guys coming back. Who are the kids that we maybe are not seeing here, Coach?
Sure. So we return, I believe, 7 of our 9 hitters, and then about 3 or 4 of our bullpen arms. So we'll have to figure out some pitching roles. But I'm excited about what the offense can do because, quite frankly, our offense was a little paltry at the beginning of last year. But then, to their credit, the guys made some adjustments at the plate and they took off. So I'm excited to see what they can do. We've got a good crop of seniors coming back and some very talented juniors coming back as well that started for us as sophomores.
And I'm going to take a look at this because you lost a couple of really dynamic pitchers, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
We did. We lost several. We lost Josh Cunningham, who went to St. Louis University. We lost to Sam Cardwell, who went to Maryville. Jason Smith, who was every bit as effective as they were. Jacob Schmidt out of the bullpen. I think those were the top 4 innings guys for us.
And, I mean, just in that, going to SLU and then Maryville, I mean, that's some big-time arms. How do you replace that?
Well, I don't know if you can, right? I think each team, each set of young men is different, and you have to figure out what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and how can we figure out what to do with this group to make them maximize their potential. Because we do have good arms, but it might mean different roles, a different offensive scheme. Obviously developing some starting pitching out of the last year's bullpen guys. Those would be. I think we would be remiss if we tried to replace them one for one. I think we have to figure out what this group can do and try to maximize their talent.
That's always, because I remember I got over and I watched you guys play in an early season tournament against Francis South Central. And you were struggling with the bats. And that was something, early on, but you figured that. Are you going to be able to maybe, and I think that's an interesting point, you might be able to slug your way out of a few games this year, right?
I do think that that's something we're going to have to look at is maybe, last year I got to the point where if we got a runner on, I was probably going to try to bunt him over because we knew we were going to play close games and we knew we had good pitching. But now we might have to play for the big inning more often. And I think we have the offensive potential to do that. It could change that dynamic for sure.
It never is easy, I think, whether it's in the MCC or any of the conferences around St. Louis who you're playing and whatnot. Pitching, I think Dumont's back at SLU, isn't he?
Yes, he is, unfortunately.
And I'm sure, I know that CBC, they lost a lot of guys this past year as well. But they'll probably have some of those arms again, I'm sure. Tell me about your opponents, the MCC. How difficult is it to get through that conference?
Yeah. I have to think that as competitive as any conference in the state. Maybe not better, but I think it's as good. In my first year, it's crazy to think about the starting pitchers. CBC had two Division I arms, two starters. SLU had two Division I arms. Chaminade had two Division I arms. We had a Division I arm and a Division II arm, and I think Vianney had a Division II arm and maybe two Division II arms. So there weren't a whole lot of runs scored in conference games on Tuesdays and Thursdays that year. I mean, it was some of the best high school pitching I've ever seen. And like I said, I've been coaching for 20 years. So it is a very talented conference. In 2015, CBC won state. In 2017, Vianney won state. And in 2019, Smet under Coach Stewart won state. So 3 of the last 9 or 10 state champions have come out of the conference too. So it's really good baseball. It's high level baseball. And it's always cutthroat on Tuesday and Thursday.
That's why I always think it's difficult. People think, how come you don't see some of these teams repeating and whatnot? I thought it was phenomenal. I couldn't believe that Liberty North came back and won back to back. I mean, just to get out of your district every year is bad enough because, I really like what they've done with the Class 6. 64 teams basically, maybe been 65 this past year. You have the 8 districts. I mean, that's a gauntlet. You got some state championship games in the district finals. Agreed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you enjoy it because I don't enjoy that setup very much. No, it makes for a great district tournament. When you have 8 districts, and you're if you win a district and you're 1 game away from the Final Four, you really have to go through some good teams to win a district. I think about, we had to play Francis Howell North, SLU, and CBC. Francis Howell and Fort Zumwalt West, always those poor guys, they always end up in the same district, and they beat up enough on each other during the conference season. So I'm sure it's like that all around the state. And for those guys on the west side of our state to repeat is just incredible. I didn't get to see them play, but I can only imagine how talented they were.
It was, and Coach Stiegel was saying that they won in a walk-off home run against Staley. This was you got Staley over there, Liberty, Lee Summit West was tough. Yeah, Ray Peck they had Division I arms out the wazoo.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the South, Willard is always there. Willard's got. I really enjoy talking with Coach Scott McGee. He does a great job with his program. And now Nixa is going to be really good again this year. They got a junior coming back at shortstop. Oh gosh, I met his dad when we were there at the state championships. His dad was working. He's a Army reservist, and he works in the recruiting office. Cloud, that's his name, Charlie Cloud. His son's, I don't know what his first name is, but his last name's Cloud. And we were chatting it up the whole time up there, talking and watching it. His son is really good, and Nick's has got a really good baseball team down there. They gave Liberty North all they wanted, and gave Jackson all they wanted. So, and Jackson was really good last year as well.
Oh yeah, we saw them. We played. We lost 6-5. They won on a walk-off. They were a tremendous team.
Oh man. And that's what I mean. Coach, when you look at the state of baseball in Missouri, where do you kind of, I know it's hard to kind of go nationally, but it's really good baseball, isn't it?
It just seems like the kids get more talented. The skill level grows. They get bigger, faster, stronger every year. And I think that's a credit to all the good summer programs we have in the area. Kids are able to train in the off season. And then, unfortunately we only get them for 12 weeks. So I'm thankfully we have, great, like I said, great summer programs that we can entrust our players' development to in the off season. But I think the proliferation and the rise of the summer program really contributes to the increasing skill level and talent and size and strength of the players.
I agree, and I think absolutely correct. It's made a huge impact on baseball here. You got more guys. I mean, these high school teams, you got, five guys showing up throwing, 85 to 88.
Hmm.
My goodness,
Hmm.
no days off. It's like you said, Tuesday, Thursday conference. You better come to play,
Right.
or else you'll end up at the bottom of the heat there. And it's true because we look at from the Kansas City Suburban to the St. Louis Suburban Conference to the MCC down in the Cape Girardeau area. The baseball that's being played at a high level, I think, is tremendous. So when you're talking about, as I'm sure you do, coaching in the summertime, where do you how do you transition those two, and how do those things meld together? And when you talk about coming back to high school, is there a difference when you're coaching in the summer as opposed to the high school?
Well, I used to work for Rick Strickland with the St. Louis Pirates, and we always felt like our job was to coach the skills, the tools, the athleticism, and because that's what we were going to do in the summer. We were just going to show off the players and try to get them seen by as many schools as possible. So we didn't work much on cuts and relays or bunt coverages or rundowns. Basically we said go out there, swing as fast as you can, throw it as hard as you can, run as fast as you can. And if we win, we win. If we don't, we don't. It's okay. That's not really our concern here in the summer. And so that's how we trained from November, December, January, and February. We were just trying to make the best athletes and the highest skilled players that we could, knowing that high school ball is or was. I don't want to. I'm not in the summer circuit anymore, so I don't want to group anybody anymore. But we could always trust that we could send our guys back to high school and they were going to get shown the finer points and the details and some of the little things that help win games. But that wasn't really our focus in when we coached summer ball.
I think that's still a lot the same way it is. I think when you're talking about high level athletes and whatnot, I still think those are the things that are there. Do I see certain coaches talking fundamentally about how to play a game? Nobody really does small ball in the summertime that way. No, nobody's. Hey, you ain't seen these kids out there bunting. Yeah, it's just the way it is. As you said, swing as hard as you can.
Just in case you hit it. Just in case you hit it.
Yeah, and I think if we prioritize things correctly, I think those things. I think it can. I think it works, right?
Absolutely. I think they balance out very well. I I think that the high school coaches, when I was, doing off-season training and working at the academy and coaching summer ball, appreciated that we were trying to improve their player skill level and athleticism. And I know we appreciated what they did for the players during the spring season when we were able to hit the ground running come the summer season.
I think that I like that thought process. And if a summer coach is taking a team and they work on those fundamentals as well, cuts and relays, there's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, I'm just saying. But I think what you talked about, just the overall skill of the individual athlete, and then when you come in, because a lot of you go and watch certain games, there's a lot of coaches here, especially in this area, still play a lot of small ball.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It doesn't matter what analytics say. You can't convince me that small ball doesn't win because we're talking about the postseason, right? Um,
Yeah.
where one run makes a difference. So the little things matter. Bunting matters. There's a reason Coach Perkins has won 4 state titles. Um, and yeah,
There's
it
something to be
works.
said about just putting pressure on people. especially regardless of what, people would like to think, it's still high school baseball. These are still, as Mr. Mulder likes to put it, it's boys' high school baseball. It's true. And
Right.
it, are you are you at the level that it doesn't matter what somebody does? There's very few high school players that just make every play and have the mental capacity to focus each and everything, and the butterflies don't overtake them, and the moment doesn't get you. I remember seeing that a couple of years ago when West and Howe were playing in the district championship. I think it was district. It might have been a quarterfinal. Either way, big game, right? And West started coming back, and Howe couldn't stem the tide, and finally, boom, McCutcheon makes a bad throw on a double play that would have pretty much ended the game. Or I think it was tied, but I think it would have ended the game, and it scored, let the tying run score, and then West come back and beat him. And Jake McCutcheon is probably one of the best shortstops I've seen in this area, as far as that. And it's proven he's starting at Missouri State, so hits a ton, and I've watched him play. And so that happens to those types of players. It's happened at the major league level. You see these things happen. When you start putting pressure on teams, and as a coach, when you see in those situations, however you can do that, putting pressure on the defense to score a run, you got to be able to execute that, right?
Absolutely. I always think of I think it was Shaka Smart that said, you want to force the other team to play faster than they practice. Right? If you speed up an infielder, if he's used to taking 2 shuffles before he throws to first base, and you're busting your butt so hard down the line that he can only take 1 shuffle, maybe he skips the ball down the line. If you round first base so hard that outfielder comes up nonchalantly, and they out of the corner of his eye sees how hard you're going, and maybe he bobbles the ball, and now maybe you get 2. Pressure. Even throwing a lot of strikes and working fast is pressure on the hitter. So I think you're absolutely right that the faster you can play, the more pressure you can put on the other team, the more mistakes that are bound to happen. And as we all know, baseball games are usually lost, not won.
Yeah, I agree. And from my perspective, on my side of it, and I think this is true. I've coached enough. I'm not some big time dude, but you watch things. I've coached enough to know that most of the time it's the coach's decisions that usually lose a game. And I don't mean that in a bad way or disparaging, but you're responsible for making these decisions. And I'm not saying all the time or whatnot, but when you look at the situations, you've got to make decisions. And sometimes it just doesn't come out very well. So even in coaching, that pressure's there. You got to kind of keep the game in that perspective as well, correct?
Absolutely. I actually had something happened to me last spring that I'm grateful that I made the right. This is an instance where I actually made the right choice. We were in a big game. I was thinking about playing for one. We had the leadoff hitter reach. I knew it was going to be a close game. And I thought about bunting, and I didn't. And the next guy came up, and he doubled. And then we put up 4 or 5 runs. And I look back and go, thank goodness I didn't mess that one up by putting the bunt sign on, because we actually strung together some hits.
Makes you feel good, doesn't it?
It does. I didn't mess up for once.
And as a coach, you look back at the things in your decisions. I think every coach does that. If you're really, looking at your situation, because you got to really understand and know your players, don't you?
Absolutely. I'm sure every coaching staff does, but certainly we do. We sit down and just talk about the games and what we did well and what we didn't do well. And, we're normally focused on ourselves and our own decisions, and my pitching coach will beat himself up because he cares so much, and I'll kick myself in the butt for doing something dumb, and my third base coach will say, well, I should have done this better, and we all lament what we could have done better.
So, see, parents don't have to worry about going and hollering at the coach. They're hollering at themselves. There you go. Thought I'd help you out there, Coach. Oh, mercy. I want to finish up with this because I think it's an important scenario going on right now, with recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's one of those questions, a lot of parents, this, that. I want to ask you, I don't know how much you've seen and know about what's going on with the NIL stuff and that type of thing. But has your players and any of your guys that you're seeing moving on, even at SLU and stuff, is it really a factor in what they're doing?
Not for anyone that I've been around yet. We've had, in my first 2 years at the Smet, we've had one Division I player. And I didn't hear anything about any NIL money or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So, my experience there is very limited.
Yeah. Well, we've had this conversation a little bit, and I've been given a lot of information. And honestly, I didn't know as much as I do now because people been giving me resources, and so when you start looking at it, I don't think it's what people thought it was. And when you talk about how these kids, NIL money, but I think it should stay in the focus on recruiting, the focus on these things, because there's a bill. I don't want to get too deep into this because I'll tell you why. Because by the time, and I'll probably cut all this out, but by the time this gets on the podcast, Coach, because tomorrow afternoon I'm sitting down with Titus Sissel and Leo Humbert.
Okay.
And we're going to have this conversation. And I've been reading up on NIL.
Uh-huh.
And there's a few things that I want to get straight, and I'll go and getting with them. So we may revisit this at another time.
Sure.
But because I'm still learning about this stuff myself, and where does it go to? Is it going to get into the high school stuff? I know there's a bill in front of the state Congress. And I think if it might have been signed already, I'm not quite sure, allowing high school players for their name, image, and likeness. I think it's interesting, and how far do we go down this road?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think when you're talking about that, a high school player does 16, 17-year-old kid because he's a star quarterback or the star pitcher, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that I'm smart enough to offer an opinion. You always want the best for the athlete. So I guess the question is what, you want them to have ownership of their name, image, and likeness, but you don't want to have anything sully the experience of just being a kid, having fun, playing sports. So yeah, I don't know enough about it.
No.
Hopefully the decision makers are wise and keep the kids at the forefront of whatever they decide.
It's something we'll probably all have to face at some point. In this respect, I think high school coaches are going to have to, face it at some point. But, all of these things in sport, when you try and you're trying to coach a kid just to help them develop and get better and head to the next level. I mean, mm-hmm. I think sometimes we're putting too much into some of these things, even at the high school level.
Yeah, like you and I were talking even before we went on air. It's playing high school sports and and whether it's in the spring or the summer, it doesn't have to be about getting to the next level. It can just be because you enjoy it. You enjoy playing the sport. You enjoy being with your friends. You enjoy competing. If we're always looking for the next level, the next thing, we're not going to appreciate what's right here in front of us. So, I hope kids in general can keep that in mind and enjoy what they're doing and let the future kind of take care of itself.
It will. It usually does. I mean, we're sitting here, right? Oh, mercy. Coach, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I really enjoy the conversations. I hope that we get you back. We got to get we'll definitely get you guys on the schedule. I got to get Friday Night Lights. Or what? You guys don't have you got lights at your stadium, don't you?
We don't. I think the only school in the conference that does is SLU.
Is SLU? Well, I know Vianney does, but I was told they can't use them because of the ordinances in the area.
Yeah, I think that's still the case.
There's a school that's going to be tough this year for you guys, I think.
They are very talented. They are very, very talented. They got hitters up and down their lineup, and they got some pitchers that are coming to their own. So, yeah, they're definitely a team to watch out for. Yeah,
I just saw 3 of them this past weekend, with Riker Benz, Nolan Jaworski, and Trey Jozwiakowski. Good luck with those guys, Coach.
Yeah, they are tough. Trust me. I have nightmares even before the season starts thinking about pitching to them.
That's as brutal as it gets. My goodness. Yeah. Your guys are gonna you can get people out, but those are 3 guys that are really tough to get out.
They are really tough. But my pitching coach, he does a great job. He scouts all these guys. He comes up with game plans. He has meetings every week about how we're going to approach different hitters, and then they execute the game plan and go back to the drawing board if it doesn't work. But from what I've seen for the last 2 years, he's done a really good job. So
I love that. You got to execute it. How do you learn how to execute a game plan? Well, first of all, you got to throw the ball where you want to. That's difficult in itself.
That is.
And then throw it like a curveball or a slider or change up and still throw it in the place you want to throw it.
Absolutely. Got to be able to throw at least 2 pitches for a strike.
Exactly. So, outstanding, Coach. Again, like I said, I appreciate it. Wish you well, and I'm sure we will talk soon. Folks, appreciate you joining with us on this. We hope you enjoyed it. Please, while you're here, if you like what we're doing, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate that. Hit that dinger next to it, because that's what we do around here. We hit dingers. That's what they say, at least. And that'll get you all your upcoming that'll get you notifications for upcoming episodes of Baseball Talk on YBMcast. And we have great gentlemen like this joining us, and we appreciate them taking the time to drop some knowledge, give you some knowledge here that hopefully will help you in the future with your team and what you've got going on in baseball. So thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes. Hitters, Coach, you got some advice for the hitters?
Hunt the fastball.
Oh, it's a good one. I like it. Yeah, I'd rather hit a fastball myself. I tried to hit. I got to tell this story on me. We were playing in an alumni Legion game. And all the guys came back, and our team's playing and whatnot. And this guy was playing college ball at the time still. Threw a knuckleball. I'd never seen a knuckleball. I struck out 3 times.
That's not fair. He can't do that to you.
No, I was like, what is this? Throwing a knuckleball, man. I had never seen no knuckleball. It was pretty bad. So Thanks, folks. We'll see y'all next time.